Lizzie.
Hi.
For anyone that doesn't know you, what is your job role at Call to Cloud?
So I'm the Customer Success Manager at Call to Cloud.
And what does that mean from day to day? What is your main role? What are you trying to do for our customers? How are you there to help them?
So I guess my main role is to really it's kind of split into two parts. It's doing the customer journey side of things. So once they have a technology, it's helping them to adopt that technology or the solution or service, depending on obviously what they've purchased. And then the second half of it is really kind of continuing around that, around the sun model, where we don't just kind of do a log and vlog. We actually keep an eye on them. We see what's going on. We help them to build and use the maximum, the basically maximize, their technology so they get the most, I guess I want to say return on investment.
Yeah.
I hate those buzzwords, but that is really what it is.
It costs a lot of money. There's generally not just one person that's decided. It implements teams. Sometimes it's changing technology, so they want to make sure they get the most out of it.
Yeah.
You've not been here very long.
No.
Are there any common things that come up, like common pains or common, deployment things or common things that people are missing on contracts that you would recommend looking at, or when you're making a decision on a purchase?
So I think the main thing I've kind of seen that's cropped up quite a few times is there is definitely a gap between basically end user and the vendor, the technology, if we're going from a technology standpoint. So there's definitely, I want to say, a grey space. And I think this is where customer success at Call to Cloud actually really fills that grey space, because basically the vendor helps to deploy and onboard. They kind of, once they've done that, it is kind of, off you go. Here's kind of some resources that we think will get you to A to B and will make you into a business as usual situation. I've had a lot of customers come back to me and basically say, actually, they don't feel completely enabled and comfortable to raise tickets, raise requests, and actually have that technology implemented for 1 year, 3 years, however long they've got it for, and know what they're going to do once the vendor kind of drops off, which is absolutely fine. That's obviously what they're supposed to do. So I think that's where Call to Cloud customer success specifically really comes in handy, because we fill that grey space. So we basically go, okay, if you don't feel enabled, we can set up training sessions. We can use our technical team. We can find resources. We can get on more calls with the vendor. We are there to kind of ensure that the customer feels completely comfortable and enabled with the technology that they have just implemented, and they actually do feel like they've adopted it fully on their side, because not a lot of the time that we can't always raise the tech tickets. It is more reliant on the customer, so it's making them feel comfortable and happy with the the service that they've purchased.
And I guess their environment changes all the time. So some technologies 3-year contract. I think the biggest one I've heard is a 10-year contract, which could mean the environment changes. I mean, we've had COVID and things like that, so we know how things can change. The original person that purchased it might not even be there, to who then starts working with you.
I've had that, yeah.
And then obviously the scope of works of why that was put in might change. So what we do, I believe correctly, is we check in on quarterly basis. Is that kind of the benchmark, and then review how the project is going, if the right people are involved? Is that kind of how we manage that as well?
100%, yeah. So we ideally position quarterly. Obviously, some customers might not have time for quarterly, so they might go for biannual. Some customers potentially want monthly to start off with and then transition over. So we will obviously work with the customer to work on their timelines, what suits them. And then, it's very much kind of keeping them on track of things that have changed, ensuring that we know kind of changes on their side, to ensure that it, as the technology grows and develops and the company kind of scales and develops, that they're getting the maximum, they're maximizing their technology and solution throughout the journey. So especially when it is a multi-year deal, you need to ensure that you're not just implementing it because so much will change in 3-5 years time or 10 years time, that they might not be actually being able to utilize, products that are free or services that have been implemented within those things. So that's kind of where customer success can really help to ensure that they are continuously, I want to say, educated on the technology that they have purchased.
Because the tech evolves all the time, right?
It does.
So we have the vendors come in and they educate us on new modules that have come in, or new releases, or new names of stuff. Sometimes they rename stuff, or I know Lawrence once said that one of the dashboards got updated on one of the platforms we say, and it took him 3 days to get his head around it. So there's some benefits of reaching out to us, because we're going through it, and we may have done the training, or we may have seen the roadmap of the vendor way before, so we can support that. So there's some pros for getting in with us as well from that point of view.
I guess we're always educating ourselves as well. So if the customer might not have time, it's basically using us as like an external resource and an extension to them to, I guess, educate themselves and be resourceful, basically using our education and our time and our training and our tech team to, you know, the best visibility to actually, you know, train themselves, because they might not have time to sit down and watch a 40-minute video, or they don't obviously have these vendor on-site days that we get and we're very fortunate to have. They don't have that. So it's basically maximising kind of their time by, I want to say, piggybacking off our knowledge, which I think is really, really useful. And I think that's one thing I've actually really enjoyed about Core to Cloud since I've been here. I think it's what sets us apart from what I've seen.
Yeah. And I think also that we're big on community, but people will have problems, right? Specific problems. And sometimes you think, oh gosh, this is only happening to me. Whereas they may come to you and say, Lizzie, this is happening with this technology at this time, it does this and this. And because you're looking after a select number of customers, and it's not just you, it's Theo, and then there's the BDMs that support, and there's the technical people that support. We have our own community and our other communities further of that. So if someone comes to us with a problem, the chances are we may not have seen that exact problem, but we may have seen another version of that, or able to know at least where to start looking. And I think that's something that maybe we don't probably talk about enough, that the community and the people, I guess it goes back to your education piece. We're being educated by technology, and we're being educated by our own customers all the time.
Always. And what's really handy is if we do find that there's a customer who's potentially raised a query or an issue or something, or a pain point, and then potentially another customer else with the same technology raises that pain point, we can basically, you know, the vendor might not have identified that that's actually a problem. So we can actually help to potentially try and find maybe a gap within the vendor as well. And actually, you know, we're always passing it back to them to give them feedback, because, you know, even though, you know, we want them to grow as much as we grow, and obviously if our customers are giving us feedback that is the same pain point over and over and over again, you know, we think it's obviously fair to kind of pass that over to the vendor, because we want them to constantly be evolving as well, because we want them to obviously maximise their technology, but we want the customer to obviously feel heard.
Yeah, and that's a big piece of it, isn't it? And sometimes one voice in this industry is quite hard.
Yes.
But putting multiple voices together in a room can actually make a difference.
Yeah.